Updates, TGIF mini grants are due next Friday, October 17th by 5 p.m. Those mini grant requests can be anywhere between $500 and $2,000. Fraternity and sorority advising team will be releasing applications for the 2015 Calibrates Fellowship Program. So that's coming up soon, and Tiffany already mentioned art studio classes at the beginning of the third week of October. And the big one coming up is the Eshman Topping Out Ceremony, right?
Okay, nice swirl.
So you already said that.
We're having so much fun. Okay, so as you all know, October 14th, we will be kicking off our topping out ceremony. I hope you all will be there. I want to see all your beautiful signatures on that beam. Previously, we had reported that the beam will be out for you guys to sign before the event Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The construction team actually didn't want to have the beam come out too soon due to the beam rusting apparently. So we will only have the beam come out on the day of. So 8 to 12, 8 to noon, you'll be able to sign it, and we'll have speaking. We'll have a public speaking. We got Mayor Tom Bates, Kelsey, and Pavan. We'll say a few things. Live entertainment by Cal Tycho. They have a different Cal Rain Tycho. Regine Tycho. Sorry about that. And pretty excited. So we hope to see you guys all there. So thank you.
There are a lot of special events going on. We do want to just let you know also the Wheeler late night program. Since I last came and spoke to you guys a couple weeks ago, each week we've steadily increased participation in that program by doubling our numbers every single week. So week 1 saw about 12 group reservations. Week 2 saw 24 group reservations. Week 3 saw 64 reservations. And week 4 this week, with not counting tonight and tomorrow, we're already at 42 group reservations. So really awesome, successful program. Thank you guys so much for your support. Rob. Yeah, 1 minute, go.
Okay, so, haven't forgotten about the Senator discretionary fund. So hopefully you know you each have $500 to spend. So if you can, if you have some ideas of how you want to spend it, let's set up a time to kind of talk about it. You know, look at my decal, just kind of 15, 30 minutes to kind of look at what you want to spend your $500 on. It's kind of good to kind of program that anyways. So look into that. If you are not yet a signatory so that you can reserve classrooms, get on the Senate site on Calling. Make sure you're on there, you applied, and so that way, and review the signatory quiz, so I can make you a signatory, so you can actually reserve classrooms. I cannot stress that enough. You'll be doing a lot of event planning with NICTA, with ASUC Event Services. Just wanted to mention that next Wednesday from 12:30 on, for about an hour or so in Anahead, so here, she will have a meeting for your interns or yourself to go over how to do event planning with her around your program. So that's mine.
So we have 5 minutes for questions. Any questions for the ASUC Student Union? Senator Sue.
Hi Rob, thank you for coming. For the discretionary fund, if you don't use the $500 this semester, does it transfer on to next semester so that we have 500 plus 500?
No, the way it is, it's $500 for the whole year.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Senator Gordon.
Hi, can you just repeat when NICTA is holding the event planning?
Sure. It's going to be next Wednesday, October 15th, from 12:30 and gets into 1:30 here in Anahead.
Any other questions for the Student Union? Okay, let's thank the Student Union. Our next guest is Sadia Saifuddin, our UC Student Agent, for 15 minutes and 5 minutes for questions.
Hi everyone, can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay, cool. So first of all, my name is Sadia. It's nice to meet you all, to see you all. For those of you who don't know me, I was actually senator 2 years ago for the MEPSA Coalition. And then last year, I was student region designated. This year, I served as a student regent. So I know what it's like to sit in your space. I know what it's like to be stressed out with all these meetings and initiatives, but take advantage of the time that you guys have. Use it as a time for personal development because my term as senator was one of the most amazing opportunities for growth that I had, and a lot of what I did my Senate year plays into what I do today as a student regent. So also, if you're interested in applying for student regent, come talk to me. I'd love to talk to you about that. So shameless plug. Also, I want to apologize. I've been trying to come talk to you guys for the last couple of weeks, but I recently just got married a couple months ago. So I've been in the process of like moving and a lot of real life things that I've been doing, and so it's been a little bit hard, but I'm in Oakland now, so it's a lot easier to come by and talk to you all. Funny thing, I actually met my husband in the Senate, so your significant other could be in this room. But anyway, so I want to talk a little bit about the regents, what my job is, what I do, and then some of the things that I've been working on this year to update you on what's been going on with the regents along the lines of like sustainable investment, sexual assault policy changes, and then also talking about tuition increases, which has been a more recent conversation. So the student regent is essentially the representative of the 220,000 plus students that attend the UC. So that includes undergraduate, graduate, and professional students. Usually it's like an undergrad or graduate. Normally it's actually a graduate student because it's a bit difficult to have the resume to be able to perform a job like this, but actually after very many years we have 2 undergraduate student regents, which is really out of the ordinary, so that's kind of cool. Also, the biggest body of students in the UC is undergrads, and so it's really good to see undergrads getting representation, although it's also incredibly important for the student regent to reach out across the aisle to graduate students and professional students and represent their interests as well. So I'm in communication with senates and student body presidents and EAVPs through UCSA as well. We go to meetings for UCSA, we collaborate on their campaigns, we meet with them along with folks at Student Affairs at UCOP to kind of figure out what's going on, how can we help, and how do we kind of create a student agenda that is holistic and really aims to accomplish all the goals that we set at the beginning of the year. So that's kind of what I do. I'm a voting member this year. Last year I was a non-voting member, but you basically do all the same things. You just don't get to vote on the board, and so this year has been an awesome year. We've actually done a lot, and it's been like a crazy ride since July, since I got confirmed. At the last meeting, we discussed fossil fuel divestment, which was a campaign that was started almost about 2.5 years ago by students, and I was a senator actually when the Fossil Free UC campaign came to pass their bill. So I remember that happening, and now I remember it at the regental level. I think it's really cool to see how far the campaign has come. And so we're working with the students at Fossil Free UC to make sure that we continue student engagement in the process for creating a new framework for how we're going to be doing sustainable investment. It's called the ESG framework. And it talks about environmental factors, social factors, and governance factors before the UC decides to invest in a certain company or fund. To make sure that we are investing in line with what our principles are. And so the conversation has been continuing into thinking about possibly divesting from coal. They had a task force that had been meeting over the last 2 months, and after talking to a lot of students, they felt really disenfranchised in that space. It's definitely really hard to kind of be able to push your agenda when you have 30 other people in the room that are pushing really hard back. But I think the students did an amazing job because by the end of it, we had regents who were agreeing to divest from coal, and we had, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom who was supporting it as well too. So that's something that's been continuing, and I've been helping the students with that. And also for the last couple of months, we've been talking about the Presidential Task Force for addressing sexual assault on our campuses. That was actually a movement that was started by a lot of students at UC Berkeley, and that's something to be incredibly proud of. And so I sit on that task force as well too, and so it's something that the UC supports, so it's not as if it has been a crazy, there hasn't been a lot of pushback in terms of administration, but it is important to continue student engagement, and that's one of the campaigns that I've learned the most from, because we have students that are engaged in all levels of the campaign, and actually the sexual assault campaign is a campaign that other campaigns take a lot of lessons from, and so we work really closely with them to make sure that they continue their student engagement, and right now they're moving into phase 2 of the recommendations in terms of how to implement them on all the campuses. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is actually one of the things that I've been working on along with the Global Food Initiative, which was the President's Food Initiative. So when I was a senator, I actually started the UC Berkeley Food Pantry. Does anyone know about the food pantry? Awesome. Please tell your communities about it. Free food, it's an emergency food relief mechanism, and we're hopefully moving into providing fresh produce as well too, so we're hoping to kind of keep building on that.
So we started that about 2 years ago. Last year it became a lot bigger when we partnered with different members across campus, the Financial Aid Office, the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, the Tang Center, RSSP, and so we've been actually working across campus to be able to make sure that our students do not go hungry. That's incredibly important to us, and we're not going to stop until we have no members of our student community coming to the food pantry. That's our goal. So actually, when the president launched the food initiative, the global food initiative, the whole goal was, we're going to stop world hunger. But there's really no way we can stop world hunger when we have students on our own campuses that are going hungry. And so we kind of brought up that conversation with the president. Over the last 2 months, I've been meeting with the president multiple times to talk about how are we partnering up to do some kind of student-led survey to ensure that we're actually assessing the need that exists. Because right now, we don't have any data because it's kind of embarrassing to admit that you don't have any food. Like, I wouldn't want to admit that. There's a crazy, huge stigma surrounding food insecurity, and we're trying to combat that by changing the way we do things and changing the way we provide service. And what we actually found is that financial aid packaging is a huge problem as well, too. How many people have had their financial aid paid out actually on time? And how many of you have had to wait weeks for it to pay out? Mine still hasn't paid out, by the way. And so these are problems that students deal with on a daily basis, and it's all linked together. So we've been working with the Financial Aid Office to determine what the actual food need is for students. How do we expand that need? And then we're going to be running a student-led survey starting in hopefully November or December, and then using the results of that survey to come up with recommendations to present to the chancellors about best practices that we can share across the system. So that's kind of my legacy project. That's what I'm interested in. I'm hoping that we can have some kind of broad policy change and commitment from our campuses and our chancellors to combating hunger on our campuses. So that's kind of what I'm working on. I work with student leaders all the time. I've been in your seats, so I get where you guys are coming from and all the craziness that goes on in your life. So my door is always open if you want to come in and chat. My office is in 564 Barrows, so it's not that far either from the ASUC headquarters. So anyway, that's a little bit of what I wanted to talk to you guys about. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Senator Nangangar. Thank you, Senator, for coming in here. I kind of have two questions, really. So I was just wondering what the conversations among the regents were like for the state funding the UC a little bit more, as well as if you had any information about the UC Ventures program that's going to be rolling out, and if there's any student representation on that, or who's going to be in charge of that, and where we're going to get the money.
Sure. Okay, so for your first question about the conversation for state funding, so the UC has been pushing the state to be funding them more, but I'm sure as you saw in the Daily Cal, the governor just rejected the $50 million proposal to increase state funds. That's definitely going to be a challenge that they're seeing for the future, and the second part of that is that they're going to be considering a tuition increase in the next couple of months. So along with that, we have to understand the way that the model works for financial aid. So we have a return to aid model, which means that when we increase tuition, financial aid also increases. So low-income students will continue to have their tuition covered or paid for. Middle-income students are going to be having the middle-class scholarship plan is going to be available for them as well too. So they're talking about some of these things and how to mitigate them. But I think the majority of the conversation about state funding has been coming and trying to lobby the state to be funding the pension plans for our staff and faculty at the UC, because currently the state funds the pension plans for the community colleges and the CSUs, but not the UC. So we've been lobbying them extra on that front, and I think we're going to be trying to continue the lobby days that we do in joint efforts with UC to see if the state will continue to fund us more, but right now it doesn't look too good. The second question you had about UC Ventures. So UC Ventures is about a pot of $250 million that the UC has taken out of its fund of $90 billion of investments that they have, and they want to fund commercial ventures that come from UC students, staff, faculty, basically the UC community. They're going to be hiring an external body to be doing that, that evaluation. So it's not it's not something that the students are involved in necessarily. They'll be hiring other people who have been doing work in investment and fund management and hedge managers and things like that. to be able to look at like what are like new investments that we can make. And that was kind of started because there have been companies over the last couple of years that were started by the UC, and Genentech is like actually one of them that had like UC backing, that the UC could have made a lot of money off of, but we missed the boat because we weren't thinking about investing into the UC. So as of right now, I haven't heard too many conversations about student involvement, but that's mainly going to be like a professional external group out of the chief investment officer's office that's going to be dealing with the UC Ventures Fund.
Any other questions? Senator Pritzker? Thank you for coming and speaking with us. My question is in regard to the tuition hike. Just as context, I think it's important for everyone to know that there's over 2,000 employees in UC that make over $200,000 a year as a base salary. And so one of my frustrations is coming from the fact that as the same time that the regents are proposing and discussing a tuition hike, we continually see the administration and the top executive pay continue to grow. There's so much administrative bloat, and President Napolitano herself makes over $500,000 a year. So what are you doing in that space to really be calling out and shedding light on the administrative bloat over executive pay, and how can we make sure that students are not going to be saddled with the debt or with this burden to pay their salary and pay their bloated pensions?
Sure, so that's definitely a difficult conversation because a lot of the compensation for the high-level admin, like for particular chancellors, doesn't come from state funds, it comes from private funds, so like donations that the UC gets, they give to like increasing chancellor salaries or whatever to make sure that the UC stays a competitive institution. Because actually we had a recent UC chancellor, the UC Irvine chancellor left a salary of like $380,000 to like take a salary of $1.1 million at Ohio State University, right? And so there's also this problem that the UC administration feels like it's losing its talent because its salaries aren't that high. I think you really hit the nail on the head though with saying that it's the other level administration that is being paid like crazy salaries, right? Like there's like chiefs of staff for certain offices that make over $200,000 to like book flights and like take meeting notes and like what, you know what I mean? At the same time, like you can speak up, but because the regions like already think a certain way about some of these things, like what the student regions can do is kind of talk in those meetings, especially in like the closed session meetings, and say, this is really problematic that we're increasing tuition and this is not gonna look good publicly. But then at the end of the day, there's no, I hate to say this, but there's no like solid movement that we can make in terms of like, oh, like I'm gonna like move to like not pass this bill, or I'm gonna vote nay on this, because for a lot of those like salaries that we're talking about right now that fund over $200,000 for their people, like we don't have a vote in them, they just get appointed internally. And so it's kind of like a sticky subject, but again, I think that students continually calling out the hypocrisy of very large executive pay when it comes to these salaries is gonna be, you know, is gonna continue to be like a conversation the regions have. Like we can't be the only voice, like we need to get a lot of people to be talking about this.
Any other questions? So before we do that, I would like to entertain a motion to extend time by 5 minutes. Any objections? Motion passes by unanimous consent. That's fine. So let's go with Senator Gordon.
Thank you, Sadia, for coming. I was wondering, I don't know if you're going to be able to speak to this, but if you could speak to the UCOP initiative around mental health and what's going on in those conversations and what we can or might expect.
Okay. Sure, I'm actually so glad you brought this up because at the last Regents meeting, Dr. Jack Stobo, who's in charge of all of the UC medical centers and the hospitals, talked about like the rising crisis of mental health. And they kind of painted it as like a lack of staff, like there's like students that are unable to get appointments for like weeks on end, treatment for weeks on end, and by the time they get around to treatment, it's like time for finals, things like that. So UCOP has been kind of testing the waters and talking to like some student leaders, the student regents, UCSA about what a student fee increase could look like to increase staff. Now the conversation's like it's a little bit complicated because sometimes OP, what they do is they create the student fee increase, right? And then campuses have their own fee increases, and I know the mental health coalitions are talking about their own fee increases, but those are more geared toward programs, right? And I know like Brianna's been doing a lot of work on this too. So those are geared toward programs and campus-specific needs. So when OP puts on their increase, they take some of that, they take all of that money actually from that they have, like their student fee money, and they redistribute it to the campuses. So the campuses don't always get an equal amount that they should be getting, right? Like since Berkeley has more students, it should be getting like a larger portion of the pie because it has more people to service. And so I talked to Dr. Jack Sobo about this, and he said that he would not support any fee increase in which the money would not directly go to the campuses, which means that we would be safe in terms of the money going to the campuses. But at the same time, there needs to be student engagement about what's going on. And that they said that they wanted to come back in January and do another presentation on what the recommendations are to kind of solve the mental health crisis or propose some solutions to that. And they didn't want to do that without like a student that was working on this. And so I actually recommended Brianna to talk to them to figure out like what's going on, because she's already been in conversation with the mental health coalitions on other campuses as well as running different campaigns with them and kind of consulting with them on their campaigns. So I'm trying to make sure that students are a part of that process so that we don't get slammed with like a $142 fee increase and then another one from our campus and then our tuition's going up at the same time. It would just be very not cool for all of that to happen at the same time. So that's kind of the update on mental health.
Additional questions? Senator Broder?
Hi Sadia, thank you so much for being here tonight. I am on GFI, and so we've been in a lot of talks about what we're planning to do for Food Month this year and how we're going to be in collaboration with the President's office. And I was just wondering if you had any insight on like how we can work with things like the Zero Waste by 2020 and Carbon Neutrality by 2025 policies that none of the campuses are even close to reaching, basically. And basically what's been happening is UCOP has been handing down these initiatives like GFI. We're not anywhere close to reaching. Do you have any insight on like what's happening?
Yeah, so that's literally what I'm dealing with right now. So let me tell you what happened earlier today. So I sit on the food security part of the GFI committee, right? There's a number of different committees for GFI, and we were actually told that for the second time, the food security subcommittee was left out of the conversation again. So when they followed up with the chief of staff to the president, they're like, oh, sorry, like we just had our second conversation, awkward, you guys weren't invited. So I sent a strongly worded email to their office saying like that's not cool, and you need to be looping in students as well as the subcommittee. It's very disrespectful to staff who are working on this. And so they finally set up a call, and we had the call today. But it's hard because that's what OP is doing, right? Like they're handing down these titles that look really good in a press release and like not really consulting with the people that are working on these things on the ground. So I think the best thing to do is to build a really strong like system-wide coalition to kind of help people get on the same page. And the other thing is to really build a coalition within your campus as well too, to figure out who are the people on the campuses that are doing similar work that relates to this initiative, and how do we get everyone on the same page? Because when the GFI came down, that was the criticism, right? Like Berkeley's been doing all of this amazing work, and like President Napolitano's office just kind of came up with this weird initiative. By the way, they signed, like all the chancellors like signed like the initiative at like Che Pani, right? To like be like, oh yeah, we're gonna solve world hunger. Oh, by the way, our place like $300 here. Like, oh yeah, great. Let's talk about accessibility. But like, I think that's what we need to do. We need to be building these coalitions like within our campuses so that we can challenge OP when they kind of come down with these broad initiatives and say, actually, we've been doing this work for years and this is how you can be doing it better. So I recommend reaching out to people on your own campuses, and once you have that strong enough, broad like backing, then reaching out to other campuses as well too.
Senator Broder.
So that's exactly what we're doing right now. Basically, Berkeley has this huge coalition, and so for Food Month, we're trying to reach out with other campuses and figure out what they're doing. It seems kind of like UCOP has been handing down the initiative and then stepping away from the process and doesn't want to be involved in the conversation now. So that's kind of where we're at, I think.
Yeah, you know what? Send me an email. I've had some students who are like working on Food Month stuff from like other campuses as well too, so I could kind of link you into them so we can maybe get on the same page, and then I can like kind of link you all with UCOP, like student affairs, and we can kind of air some of those concerns out because they're very serious.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any additional questions? Okay, let's thank Sadia.
Thanks,
So our next guest speakers are the Sexual Assault Commission for 15 minutes and 5 minutes for questions.
Hi everyone. I wanted to come in and talk to y'all outside you had a lot of things you had to memorize. So I'm handing out a little sheet of information for you to read and remember and keep with you. And you can thank Caitlin Quinn for the explicit title. And so on everything, I always want to go over what consent is and what our policy says it is. So that's just what the first few bullets are. Before talking ever, we always have to go over this because people say they know what it is and then they don't. So consent is mandatory. It is not negotiable or just like, I don't like this idea. Nope, not an option. It's mandatory. And it is informed, so what are we agreeing to? Are we all on the same page? It's voluntarily given, and then you can see free of physical, verbal, emotional, and mental coercion, and it's revocable. And our policy says all of this, our UC-wide policy. So again, non-negotiable. And then I can go into what state law and federal law say as well, as if you want to know that. Also, did not give a trigger warning to everyone talking about sexual assault. I won't be offended if you need to leave. Yeah, because part of the things I want to talk about is myths around perpetrators, and especially in relation to recent events. And I was really disappointed in how a lot of those conversations went. And obviously as leaders in all of your different communities, you have an obligation to make sure that discussions don't continue to go the inappropriate direction they've been going. So next on the lovely sheet. So y'all probably heard of SB 967, which the yes means yes bill. I want you all to know that that does not apply to police or criminal investigations. So the arrest of Eugene and the case that will continue with that does not involve this standard. That involves a much, much, much harder standard to prove. So I didn't want anyone to think that this was a result of activists gone crazy or something like that, because the arrest was done based on standards that have been around for like 34 years. And we already had an affirmative consent clause, as I've said like 1,000 times, in our UC policy, but the law that was just passed and signed strengthens that by requiring that people actually get trained on that who do investigations. And amnesty, before when I talked with Hallie Hunt in Code of Conduct, I was concerned about, especially in the Greek system, sorority women not wanting to report out of fear that their chapter would get in trouble for underage drinking, and she would not let the witnesses have amnesty, and now she has to. So witnesses and survivors have amnesty for like underage drinking and things, unless it was like really, really bad, like you can't like assault someone else and then get amnesty for that in another case. It doesn't work that way, but so that should no longer be a concern, because sorority leaders and other sorority women across probably every chapter, I know many chapters, are telling their sisters that their chapter will get in trouble, and that is not true. And it's really important that in the Greek community that you know that. As far as how Hallie's going to actually go through with that is another discussion. But legally you have amnesty. And the law does not redefine rape like everyone is saying it does, or a couple people are saying it does. Because if you have a consensual encounter where everyone feels fine and no one's going to report, even if it doesn't follow the standards, like no one's going to like walk into your house and try to tell you that that was non-consensual. So this bill is only to help people who report, and it's, I mean, it's already law, so if you don't like it, it doesn't matter, but you should support it because you should support survivors and not be a shitty person. Also, it's estimated that only around 5% of survivors report to the police. So some people say, yeah, no, it's 5. Let's get real, it's 5. And a lot of, when people heard of the 3 reports to BPD, the response was like, oh, this can't be, like this must have been like a freak accident. No, sexual assaults happen every day, every weekend. I don't remember the specific statistics, but it's something around like every 6 seconds someone's assaulted, either nationally or globally. Haley's nodding, so she's heard that too. So when you try to, if you or anyone else around you is trying to say like, oh, this doesn't happen, this must have been something weird, it's really, really discrediting those who, the 95% who, of survivors who chose not to report to the police for all sorts of very valid reasons. Also, 2/5 of survivors tell nobody. So just because you might think you don't know a survivor, you do. And again, wanted to reiterate that as student leaders, we shouldn't be trying to look to the police as the response to this. Undocumented survivors, for very valid reasons, we can't really go to the police. And a lot of students of color don't feel safe going to the police, and just I didn't feel safe going to the police. The police are terrifying, and they have a very high standard of evidence and a very invasive, insensitive procedure. Only 3% of, it's estimated that less than actually 3% of rapists actually end up in jail anyway. So if you choose to report to the police, or if anyone does, like, I know I will help you with that in any way I can, and that should be a supported decision, but those who decide not to go shouldn't be belittled, and don't do that, because then I will get mad at you, and also that makes you a shitty person. Right, so now we're getting into what I was very concerned about, which is how we talk about perpetrators. And so you'll see a lot of, I do a lot of statistics because people seem to not just believe me for knowing that I know what I'm talking about, so I gave you numbers. So David Lysak has done a bunch of, or Lysak, whatever, has done a bunch of research into perpetrators focusing on what he calls undetected rapists, which is like all of them. So we studied around 2,000 men, and between 5 to 6% of them indicated on his survey that they had raped someone else, but he didn't use the language like rape or sexual assault. He used it like, have you ever engaged in like a sexual encounter without by force, or where someone was so drunk they didn't know what was going on, like that kind of language. And 5 to 6% not only identified, like checked that, yes, I have done that, but like bragged about the conquests. The important part here is that they don't look at themselves as perpetrators. So when we talk about, he's such a nice guy, or I can't believe he'd do that, or I can't believe someone in X fraternity would do that. Yeah, they probably don't either, but what they're doing is illegal, it is wrong. And so trying to just talk about the issue of like, oh, but I didn't know, he didn't seem that way, like that contributes to nothing, that doesn't contribute to the conversation in any way. It is statistically wrong, it's just bad, don't do that. And then more things, a lot of people think perpetrators are strangers, when 80% of the time there's someone the survivor or victim knows, and they think that physical, like violent coercion is the only legitimate form of sexual assault, which has not been the case in California since 1980. So it's kind of weird that these myths have been sticking around for so long, considering our laws were changed so long ago. And most perpetrators assault someone they know, and they use other forms of coercion other than violent forms of coercion, so especially alcohol. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But also, this is not about sexual desire. This is about power and control. So when we try to just be like, oh, he was confused because you were just so hot, or whatever, I've heard people say that. Not to me, that would be conceited. But that is wrong. It is about power and control. So it's not about someone trying to like fulfill any desires from their end. That's why they want to brag about the conquests, because they controlled someone else. They had power over them. And as far as alcohol goes, you'll see that I made it clear to say that alcohol is not a cause, but a tool deliberately used. So a lot of people are like, oh, well, we just need to have sorority women stop being so drunk. Or just women in general, but people just keep referring to sorority women in that case. And that's not going to make a difference. They'll use a different tool, and also everyone as a human has the right to be drunk without anyone else hurting them. That comes first and foremost, but for those of you who might not think that way, it's a tool. So not a cause, but a tool, and deliberately used. So that is, I'm talking more about that too. Oh my gosh. The Greeks, gotta talk about the Greeks a lot because been very disappointed lately. So a lot of people are like, well, it's not just the Greeks. That's a bad excuse. Other people are rapey also is not an excuse for being okay with rape. So fraternity men are 300% more likely to sexually assault someone else than members not in a fraternity, and sorority women are 74% more likely to be sexually assaulted than non-sorority women. This is an issue in the Greek system, and if y'all keep trying to deflect responsibility on that, survivor activists are not going to shut up until you finally start taking responsibility. So also I've heard from so many fraternity men, and leaders also, it's not my brothers, it's the guests in our house. Sure, occasionally, probably, maybe sometimes, it's the guests in your house, but it's also members of IFC, members of PHC, it's everyone, not everyone, but perpetrators are everywhere, but they are members of IFC. I know of, personally have been told of sexual assaults from 15 different fraternities, and those are just the ones that have been told to me in the past, 7 months. So I guarantee you that it's a much wider problem than that. So if you release statements saying, all of our brothers know how to conduct themselves appropriately and take responsibility for their behavior, that's really insulting to those of us who have been assaulted by a fraternity member, and it's also just wrong. You can't make a claim like that in relation to sexual assault. And then also, finally, how to support survivors, really, really important too, especially in relation, all the time, but in the recent events, instead of making survivors the focal point, people have made the issue of sexual assault the focal point, treating it as a public relations problem, thus the title of this. This is not a public relations problem, this is a people are getting hurt problem. So how to support survivors? I'll start with the bottom bullet, which it's not your place to judge someone else's pain. So it's really not your place to determine whether or not something else constitutes sexual harassment or sexual assault. I think it's ridiculous that I even have to say that, but I do because everyone else is like, well, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me. So listen, don't press for details or ask why questions, because again, 2/5 of survivors tell nobody, and it's not your place to judge what happened. Offer to help them seek resources, but don't tell them what to do. So some of you might think that the police are a good response. They're not. That's your personal opinion you can have, but you should not ever be like, go to the police. You can say, would you like to go to the police? I'll go with you. Do you want to go to Tang? I can go with you. Providing options and not telling someone how to respond because they already had their control taken away once. So if you try to take control of the situation away, you're just doing it again. And that's furthering the damage. And again, I really, really want to change the dialogue to focus on survivors and not public relations. I do not want to see another public relations sign hanging from the front of a fraternity where I know there have been violent rapes. So that's for the ASUC and for everybody. An effort should be focused on education. Changing inappropriate behaviors, no matter how common they are. So, oh, that's just how things are done, is a stupid excuse. Discussing what consent looks like, sounds like how we can ask, what we can do. Just because that? Yeah, I'm almost done. Supporting survivors instead of silencing them, and acknowledging that it's a real problem that's hurting people, not just a problem that's an unfortunate thing for your chapter, your friends, your community, your school, whatever. And now, do I have the 5 minutes of questions or no? Yeah, right.
So we have 5 minutes for questions.
Oh, and there's an op-ed coming out tomorrow that is much more intense sounding than I am, so.
Let's go with Senator Kawusi.
Hi Megan, thank you so much for coming and all the work that you've been doing. You're really the point person. too when they have questions about whether what they're saying sounds good or not. I know that the Greek system has been in the media a lot, as they should be, but I'm also just wondering, as a cooperative woman as well, sexual assaults do happen in the co-ops, and I feel like my consent workshop, there was explicit advice not to go to CO, not to go get help, and in an environment where the people that you are seeking help from are other students and house managers, what action is being taken in terms of cooperative students? I know it is a big Greek issue, but it's also just another issue. And then also a lot of my male friends have been saying, like, I've heard so many stories of males being sexually assaulted by women. And so, like, what's being done to, like, kind of even, I mean, it's not necessarily an even fight, but to represent men as well, I guess.
Okay, so for the first point, I didn't focus on the co-ops here because I had a short period of time. It is a much bigger issue in the Greeks than it is in the co-ops. Yep. That's just true. But yeah, co-ops, they did actually respond to the request for a consent workshop, so they were supposed to do those, but there's not really a lot of oversight in what those look like, so we're working on that. There are a bunch of random people who have been trying to work on that, but trying to bring that together. I've done a few, trying to make sure that people next year or next semester are going to be trained before they actually do it. And as far as male survivors go, I definitely think that we need to focus more on male survivors, but a reminder that around 98%, so probably a little bit less, I mean, most definitely less, but still very, 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 very high percentage of perpetrators are men. So it is very much a gendered issue, but male survivors should never be silenced regardless of the gender of the perpetrator, and in the Cal Consent campaign, we're going to be addressing that in some form. I don't know how yet.
Senator Ramesh.
Hi, thank you so much for coming in. You've truly opened my eyes to move past the PR bullshit, so thank you for that. My question is more of a clarification. You gave a statistic on like when people do get sexually assaulted, there's an X percent chance that they know their attacker. Could you just repeat that percentage, please? I didn't quite hear you.
So there are like various exact numbers, but it's around 80%, right? 90? I've heard 7/8. I don't know what that translates to in percentages. I don't do math. Lots. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Frankel?
Can you hear me? Can you speak more to, I guess, like, the situation with, like, amnesty and what was happening before and kind of how that's changed, just like best relay that message?
Yeah, so...
And also thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks, everyone. So it was really complicated before, because as we know, Code of Conduct has a lot of discretion in how they go about investigating, but when I talked with Hallie, I was concerned because I know that there was a report of a sexual assault. So what happened was both the sorority and the fraternity were sanctioned for underage drinking. And I just thought that was, A, just really insulting, and B, wasn't getting at the heart of the issue, because the issue wasn't underage drinking. And she expressed to me her desire to keep it that way because she believed that alcohol was contributing to the overall problem. So that's kind of how it was before. They thought that they were addressing like the cultural issue through punishing for underage drinking. But then with SB 967, it's that like it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to look, is that survivors were pretty much always granted amnesty in the past. It wasn't specifically in the Code of Conduct, but now it's law. And witnesses are supposed to get amnesty as well, so I don't know how that would look, how Code of Conduct is going to decide to interpret that as far as like at an exchange or at a co-op or at any kind of party or with an organized event, how they're going to sanction the whole group. But witnesses are not going to get sanctioned theoretically, and so if they were to sanction the whole chapter, that would be kind of sanctioning the individual, is my argument. But someone's got to talk to
I'd like to entertain a motion to extend time by 5 minutes.
So moved.
Any objections? Motion passes by unanimous consent.
Can I like follow-up question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So can you, like, thank you for clarifying that also. I heard like big rumors of maybe like presidents thinking that they could be expelled from school if a member of their sorority or fraternity or co-op, I don't know if they're presidents, were to come out about something and say that they were drunk at an event that technically like the president or someone in the organization could be responsible for it. And I just wanted to hear if you know anything about that.
Yeah, so as far as I know on that one, it depends on how, we all know I was in the grade system, so I keep bringing it back to that, but it depends on like how your nationals does it. So with my X chapter, our risk chair or our president could have gotten in trouble if we had like violated a whole bunch of things. Like it would take a long way. It wasn't just if there was underage drinking, but if there was underage drinking and we got sanctioned and we were like, LOL no, and just kept going and going and going, then she would get in trouble.
Get in trouble like to the point of expulsion?
Yeah, but it would have to be like consistent. Like they don't just do it if one event happens. They would give you a warning and probably even another warning. And if it was a sexual assault, they wouldn't, I can't say this with absolute confidence, but they haven't, as far as I know, ever punished a chapter for sexual assault as an entire chapter, so I doubt that they would expel the president unless they were
is that like,
a traitor.
sorry for getting off the question, is that expulsion from like the sorority or from UC Berkeley?
Dismissal from sorority, and I think the risk chairs and presidents agree with the lead center
to be able to be expelled from UC Berkeley.
Dismissed is what they use.
Sorry.
And yeah, but again, it would have to be really egregious. Like it wouldn't just be like, oh, we found underage drinking. It would be like, we've tried repeatedly and talked with you repeatedly.
And like you are directly
Senator
responsible.
Frankel, you've asked like 5 questions.
Yeah.
Senator Burr.
Hi Megan, can you elaborate on what the commission will be working on this year? Just general overview.
So we have a meeting on Sunday from 3 to 4 in Hearst about the first photo campaign series. I hope you all saw the Cal Consent campaign from last October, My Dress is Not a Yes, that whole thing. And we're doing another one, and so that's a planning meeting on Sunday for what that's going to look like. We want to focus on like 3 posters on how like supporting the survivor slogans, and then 3 posters on bystander-y, intervention-y slogans. And then we're also going to we have a survivor resource pamphlet that I was going to bring but did not have access to a color printer, but you'll get that at some point, and a real how to report pamphlet. So not the university saying, go to Title IX, everything will be great, but like what it actually looks like and what you actually need to know if you want to actually report. And Cal Consent Week, and a version of the It's On Us campaign that's not as dumb, and all sorts of other things anyone wants to suggest. I don't want to be the only one dictating. I'm waiting for the commission to tell me things too.
Let's go with Senator Gordon.
Hi Megan, thank you so much for coming in. You might not have an answer to this right now, and that's totally fine. But I wanted to ask what specific requests you have from all 20 of us right now, because this is a serious issue that all 20 of us need to really take to heart. So I'm wondering what specific requests you have for the 20 of us, and then also what specific requests you have for the fraternity men that sit on Senate to be taken back to their fraternities.
Yeah. So that's kind of the perpetrator part was just so you all can understand how it better understand perpetrators, so that we aren't continuing these myths that aren't addressing the solution. So if you hear someone say like, oh, he's such a great guy, or like, oh, I can't believe it, or he just really wanted whatever bad things, that you can be like, actually no, I know that's wrong, so that you can intervene when you hear problematic discussions is really important. And then the supporting us to the survivors part is also really important, and same with the intervening. So say your chapter president decides that she wants to treat a situation like a PR issue, and you don't really feel comfortable saying anything, but like your leader, you all know this, I'm sure you've been told this.
I moved to extend time by 2 minutes.
Oh, sorry, I talk a lot.
Is there a second?
So.
Any objections? Okay, motion passes by unanimous consent.
All right, so making just intervening in conversations that are incorrect based on all the studies I've given you, and then especially like in like community-wide level, so making sure that your chapter, your co-op, your house, your friend group isn't doing that. And then to stop treating this as a PR issue, I keep saying that 1,000 times. And for the members here that are on fraternities, please don't hang the banners. The banners should not be the first step because it's simply PR, unless the behaviors of your members change. And even then, it's a stupid sign to have, because if I saw the sign hanging from the frat where I was raped, it would be horrible. It would be terrible. And I've heard that from multiple people who have asked me where the signs were hung, so they knew not to walk down the street so they wouldn't see it. It's just insulting. So none of those stupid banners. And then I have the Cal Consent Campaign posters that will actually be educational, that I would like you to bring back to your chapters and hang up in your chapters, because last time I tried to put them up in frats, almost no one would do it. I have time. So that's what I want from the fraternity men, is to stop treating this as PR, stop trying to deflect responsibility, understand that it's a serious issue, and that we need to move, like I said at the very bottom, changing inappropriate behaviors, calling people out for inappropriate behaviors, discussing what consent looks like, and actually supporting survivors instead of doubting them or being like, oh, well, it's a tricky situation. It's just invalidating. So I guess those would be my specific asks. Just, I really, really don't like those PR posters. They're really insulting. And I wasn't involved in the creating of that. No survivor activists were. As far as I know, none of you all were involved. It came from the PR department. It did not come from the educational center at Tang. It did not come from any background in studying this. No public health model, no nothing. It was purely PR. And this is not what the issue should be. So that's pretty much all I wanted to repeatedly 1,000 times tell you.
Senator Dudgeon?
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
My question really is, with the Cal Consent Campaign, what are you doing to reach out to students of color and make sure that sexual assault becomes also a colored person issue too? Because right now the consent posters are very much white, and so are a lot of the participants. So what are you doing to reach out to people of color who are also survivors?
Yeah, so that is an issue, especially with the focusing on college sexual assault movement, because although a lot of college survivors of sexual assault are white, the survivors of sexual violence overall, I didn't mention this, but women of color are disproportionately affected far more than white women are. And that's an issue that we want to address as the Cal Consent Campaign. And I don't have any specific plans, because I have a commission of, I think, there's 23 people. And that's why I'm telling everyone about the meetings for the planning for the posters. So as many people can come as they want and contribute ideas. And we tried to be very honest, tried to plan it out better in the February one last year. And we had issues with the photographer and the models and all that showing up on time. But it was actually planned a lot better. But then some of us ended up being in the poster just because there was no one else there. But we want to plan it out better to make sure that it's more representative and not just a whitewashed issue. Sorry if that's not a very good answer.
Any other questions? Okay, let's thank Megan. So next on the agenda is the Berkeley Service Network, but they are not here today, so we're going to be skipping over that for the guests. By request, we're going to move up one of the public comments for later agenda items, so let's introduce Kyle Shackelford for 2 minutes.
Good evening, Senators. I realize that this may very well be the last time that I might get the chance to speak to you all, so I'll make it brief. But I just want to stand up here today and strongly and wholeheartedly advocate for the confirmation of Mom Shane into the office of AAVP. hearing about recent events and receiving multiple text messages on my phone while I was trying to finish a take-home midterm on Wednesday, basically accusing me of manipulating the entire process and essentially being like an ASUC version of Frank Underwood, is not the case. I promise you I wasn't trying to manipulate anything. At the end of the day, I don't think I have like the guts in me to like push anyone under a subway. But at the same time, I really just want to also advocate for everyone to just wholeheartedly vote as well. As someone that lost a Senate election by about a dozen votes, I really find it kind of a shame to see some people sitting in here willing to abstain and essentially not voice their opinions for the communities that really represented them and elected them for this seat. At that point, I also see the ASUC as a unit that really needs to fully and wholeheartedly function. As a Greek student that's seen survivors being attacked in our own homes, as a Catholic who's simply trying to hold Mass on our campus and receive funding for our event of the year, and as a tour guide who's still trying to say that the ASUC is an autonomous and functioning student body, and yet finding it harder to do so on a day-to-day basis, I really and wholeheartedly hope that you can really reinstill faith in me and the rest of the students and make sure that this association is working and functioning for what it's meant to be doing in the first place. So thank you so much, and go Bears.
Thank you, Kyle. Next on the agenda is executive officer reports for 5 minutes each and 5 minutes for questions. So my understanding is that Pavan couldn't make it today, so let's introduce Rafi, Pavan's chief of staff for the Office of the President. Can we have EAVP right near the stage? Thank you.
Alright, hey everybody, sorry that Pavan couldn't make it. He is actually at the IFC meeting right now as they vote on mandatory consent training, and he thought it would be valuable to be a part of that conversation, so I'm here to give his report. Just some things our office has been working on. The Android version of our application released this week. We blasted Facebook with that and we printed flyers for it. The next few updates will be coming out, and in those updates we expect to have like calories and nutrition facts about the dining halls filled, and kind of hopefully in the next month or two after we talk to the RSF people a little bit more, like gym congestion is going to be on the app as well. Just some other conversations were around the Bears Breaking Bread program that our office is putting on. The date for November has been set. The date hasn't been set, but the month of November has been set. It's going to be the Campanile event, and the theme for it is going to be STEM majors and humanities majors, so we're going to kind of make it like a showcase of your work and talent, as well as it's a facilitated program, so we're going to have guest speakers, breakouts, discussions, and things like that. So just some other things Pavan is working on his own, filling out supplemental forms for ASUC insurance. If you have any questions about that, you can talk to him. I don't know anything about it. And then we met with Rosemary Ray, the CFO of the campus, about a budget visualization project. So she's going to be sending our office financials about how your tuition is divided up and where it goes on campus. And we're going to have our graphic designers kind of make a website for it, if that's the best way, or graphics to show percentages and breakdowns like that. And I know that people have been asking about the fireside chat. So what's going to happen with that is there were two set for October. One was going to be around Cal Athletics, and the other one was going to be for the undergraduate experience. We're going to actually move the undergraduate experience by request of the Chancellor's Office to November, but the Cal Athletics one will be taking place on Monday. The conversation will be directed towards questions of financial aid, lack of support, and then because of the Chancellor's Office pushing it off, we're trying to negotiate with them to give us more representation during these fireside chats. So that is the bulk of what's been going on. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Questions for Rafi? Senator Gunsky.
Hey, Rafi. So thanks for coming. I had a question about the supplemental forms for insurance.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure if I know what you're talking about, so what are you talking about?
I think, like, I also don't know very much about this actually, just because it's something that Pavan is working on with John, the GA president. But I think from my understanding, and if any other execs can help clarify, I think it's just him filling out forms to get like the ASUC insured as an organization. Yeah.
Senator Jawaharlal.
Hi, Rafi. I was just wondering, what are the groups and departments that you're working on for the Bears Breaking Bread?
So for the first Bears Breaking Bread, we haven't like actually targeted certain departments. We're going to keep it open-ended in just like STEM and humanity majors. We're not going to be specific and say like, oh, art students and like mechanical engineers, for example. We're going to leave it open-ended to like any student from any major department that like feels like they fit in.
So just a quick follow-up question. So then how exactly is the publicity going to be planned for those, like for the STEM and the humanities?
Yeah, so that's actually just like barely starting, like we're barely starting the publicity plans for that. We really hashed all of this out about 2 days ago, and so like next week we could give you a more thorough report about how we're planning on publicizing that. But I also am going to probably be requesting from all of you as senators to reach out to your constituents if you represent a lot of the members of these communities, to reach out to them and encourage them to come participate.
Thank you.
Senator Pritzker.
Thanks for coming, Rafi. I have a question. Do you think that it would be possible, I was going to ask Pavan, but to send the e-board minutes to the Senate? Because I know like all the exec reports mentioned the e-board, and I'm interested to know what was discussed at those meetings.
Yeah, I think we finally started taking minutes at Tuesday's meeting, so Brianna should have those minutes and she can send them out to Senate.
Senator Kovisi.
Hi, Rafi. Thank you for coming. Quick question about the nutrition calorie count thing that y'all are working on. Can you elaborate on that? And then is there also going to be like an alternate food option for people that could be triggering for with eating disorders or anything like that?
Yeah, so I mean, we weren't really going to be putting in anything that's not already existent. So if you already go on Cal Dining's website and you click on their like food items of the day, it gives you nutrition facts about what they are. So it gives like just like a normal display, and so we're gonna synthesize that into the application. But I know Denham and Monshane had also mentioned about like alternative study spaces that we're gonna incorporate onto the app, and then in doing so, we also want to incorporate alternative eating places. So it's gonna like in a way it'll help like boost local economy and like talk about local eateries that are alternate options, especially. And I guess like a very long-term thing would be break it down like, oh, if you want gluten-free options, like you can click on that. If you want vegan options, you can click on that. But right, like for the next update, the main thing is just going to be click on the food and you'll see the nutrition facts from Cal Dining.
Any other questions for OP? Okay, let's send for OP. Thank you. Next up, we have EAVP Chief of Staff. Wish me welcome.
Hi, Senators. So EAVP has been up to a lot of things, and we have a lot in store for this week. So tomorrow, EAVP office is co-sponsoring the Secretary of State forum. So for those who don't know, Secretary of State is like a very important figure within state politics or like the state government. They deal largely with elections and all laws related to elections. So if you're like worried about voter suppression, you know, it'd be a lot to do with the Secretary of State's office. So there's an event forum for the candidates that are running for that office this Thursday, iHouse 6:30 to 7:30. There's an Eventbrite posted on our Facebook page, so fill it out. If you can go, it's free. I totally recommend it. This weekend, Caitlin and a couple of our office staff members are going to go all the way to San Diego for the monthly UCSA board meeting. It's going to be a long drive for them, so wish them luck. If there's anything, I believe the agenda should be posted on the UCSA website, so if you have any questions for Caitlin and our fellow board members about what's going to be on the agenda or what's going to be discussed, let us know so we can bring them up, and then we'll report back and let you know how it went next week. A bunch of the bulk of what we're doing right now is related to vote coalitions. So the voter registration deadline is October 20th. We have 2 full weeks left, or less than 2 full weeks left to register as many voters as possible. So right now we're doing residence halls tabling for the remainder of this week. We highly recommend that you go, that you send your staff to go. It's very important to get these first years registered to vote, and more importantly, register to vote here in Berkeley, because it's very important for us to select a council member that is going to represent us in council for the next 4 years. And it's very important and for students to just be in the loop and to be civically engaged. So voter reg in the dorms the rest of this week, or the res halls. And then next week on Tuesday and Thursday, we were able to strike a deal with the residence halls, and we're going to be able to do door-to-door voter registration both on Tuesday and Thursday. I don't have the times exactly in front of me. I completely forgot them. I should know them. But they're on our Facebook page. Sign up, sign up, sign up. It's very important to get as many people to turn out in order for us to really get the folks that have just been putting off towards the last minute. And really, for those who are thinking of running for executive offices in the future, we highly recommend you to go. It's a way for you to legally be in the res halls and not be breaking rules later on. So please register folks to vote while you're at it, right? So please sign up. Get your staff to sign up. Send it out to your communities if you have volunteers that are interested as well. So yes, we're also planning on doing a VOCO or Get Out the Vote sort of concert for this month. So we'll get you updates about that once we have them. We're also able to register folks to vote at the Cal football game this weekend. So you'll see our folks out there with clipboards registering folks to vote. Say hi to them if you're going to the game, or if you're willing to sacrifice a bit of your time when we're losing, but we won't because we'll win. You can definitely do that. Local affairs has been going off to city council every week now. It's been great. We've actually been sending out has it been 4 or 5 students every week now? Yeah, I'm gonna say that. So it's great to get more students involved. Recently we sent out a letter to city council members about housing issues, particularly about a fee that is sort of imposed, and basically what they're trying to do is reduce the fee for another year, which is kind of bad because that fee will sort of be directed into affordable housing funds and so on and so forth. So yes, sorry, my phone's freaking out. It's not letting me scroll down. I think those are the more important updates that we have for you all right now. Oh, applications for Students of Color Conference has come out finally. So please forward that out to your communities. It will be on November 7th through 9th. It's a great experience. It will be at UC Merced. So check out the link on our Facebook page. We should email that out to all of you soon as well. So apply, the sooner the better. And yeah, any questions?
We have 5 minutes. Questions? Questions for EAVP. Senator Hirschman.
Hey Ish, not really a question, but wanted to give your office a shout out because last Friday I walked through Sprout and 4 people from your office tried to get me registered to vote. And although I've already registered, I was considering registering every time because they just did not work out. So keep up the hard work, and it was really cool to see on Friday, even though campus was a little not as busy, to see just 4 people actively just trying to get me registered. And again, I really did consider registering again because it happened 4 times. Thanks, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's thank EAVP. Next up, we have AAVP Chief of Staff Dana Moment.
Hi everyone. It's Chief Night. I really like that. It's really cool. If all goes well, this will be my last report to you as your weird, quasi-AAVP type person. Let me just say it's been the quasi honor of my life. And thank you for all of your support and help throughout the transition. Apologies for not submitting a written report. I will email it out to you all tonight, and I know you just can't wait to read it in full detail. So I'm really excited to pass off this responsibility to Mon Shane. It's been a very, very busy week for the both of us. We've already gotten a lot of our transitioning underway. We had meetings with a lot of you. this week, and I wanted to thank you for taking the time to share your concerns, as well as your priorities for the year. I really want to reaffirm the commitment that our office is a resource for you, and that Monshane and I are here personally to help you achieve your platforms, your academically oriented platforms, navigating relationships with admin. We want to help you, and that's why we're here. And if you have concerns, questions, we're always there. In other transitioning news, Monshane and I had our first meeting with our Graduate Assembly counterpart, Campus Affairs Vice President Sanaz Movaseri, last week. The main topic was strategy with administrators, because we do our EVCP standings together, as well as many of our platforms, which overlap actually, and we'll be coordinating efforts on mental health, faculty and student diversity, and professional development. These issues definitely affect undergrads and graduates in different ways, but there's a lot of power in coordinating our advocacy and research. We're doing like a lot of research projects together, which is really exciting. There's a lot of power there. We're going to be working really well. We also discussed the annual ASUC GA Committee on Student Fees survey, which you may remember filling out in the past. It's used typically for student fee development. It also provides data on a number of different issues which help provide metrics for our advocacy. So we want to make sure that we design the survey in a way that really captures all of our different advocacy agenda points. And we've continued that conversation with President Padilla and the rest of the exec board, and we hope to have a draft of the survey to you within the next 3 weeks. We also had a meeting with Pavan and Rafi this week to talk about admin strategy, specifically around the Chancellor's undergraduate initiatives, and how our offices can coordinate the outreach effort to students to solicit feedback and get conversations started. Some possibilities we discussed included like town halls, focus groups, surveys. We're definitely on board with the idea of town halls and focus groups, considering the circumstances. We really want to get our faces out there as well, and solicit feedback as we go into our meetings with administrators. On the topic of visibility, we've already scheduled Monshane's office hours on Sproul tomorrow at 11. Come by and say hello. And we have an op-ed underway to introduce her to the student body. In other office logistics news, our grants launch is well underway. We have approximately 36 applications, which is about on target for this time. However, we don't want to be on target. We want to be like way better than the target. So please make sure you're communicating grants to your communities. We're really excited. In the next few weeks, we're going to have adorable little bookmarks that you can put on the ASUC table that have information about the grants on them, and they're adorable. On the policy side, we're really excited to be moving forward with the Academic Assembly project. I had a great meeting with Madison and one of her staffers, Matthew, and we are working on the full proposal with her office with all the goals and procedures, as well as the application, setting up an orientation for the reps. It's moving very, very quickly, and we hope to be up and running for a November orientation and meeting. Here's hoping. We've been doing a number of CACSIF proposals as well, which has been keeping us really busy. Some of them that I just wanted to highlight really quickly was a proposal to hire a professional survey designer to create a student assessment of mental health services and comfortability accessing services. We really need that data. We should probably try to do it right. Another proposal, which our staffer Alan is working on, is a reimbursement fund for travel costs incurred from being referred off campus because the Tang Center does not provide long-term counseling and psychological care. We're also collaborating with the EVP and Senator Sue for adaptive reuse for ergonomic study and relaxation space, working with graduate students. That's a really exciting project. As an open studies major, I'm loving it. So yeah, if you have questions about those proposals, we have a few others in the works, feel free to ask about them. But in conclusion, just want to reiterate that we are here for you, and I hope you all will be open with Monshane and myself about your expectations so we can make a smooth transition. We love BCal, we get our BCals updated all the time, so feel free to set something up with us anytime. Cool.
5 minutes for questions. Senator Gordon.
I have a question and then a comment. The question is, are there individual graphics for each of the grants and scholarships, or is it just that cover photo? I'm just curious for outreach to specific communities.
Sure. So when it comes to the grants outreach, we're doing it kind of uniform, like one grant that has all of the different types of grants. However, something that we're looking into doing is spotlighting the 3 newest ones, Arts and Creativity Fund, Disabled Students Accommodation Fund, and the Transfer Reentry Endowment Fund, and doing special outreach for those particular ones because they're new, they don't have the same name recognition, and they do also, like, specifically the transfer one affects a very particular constituency, so we're exploring that. For scholarships, we are doing a separate outreach strategy for each individual scholarship because they're launched at different times.
My comment is just a heartfelt thank you for all of the work that
you've done. It was my pleasure most of the time.
Any other questions? Okay, let's thank Denim.
Thank you.
Next up, we have student advocate Rishi Ahuja.
So I guess I missed Chief Day, which is very sad, but I'll try and keep going. Just want to offer one bit of clarification to the great talk on sexual violence offered before. If you're a president of either fraternity or sorority, the chance that you're going to be, say, expelled for for actions or action taken against the organization is 0. So please don't think that people are going to be expelled, because if your organization's being charged, it's usually going to be charged with alcohol use, it's being charged with some sort of like hazing, but the organization's going to be disbanded before you yourself are going to be sanctioned. So that's not a concern. The real concern is that presidents feel comfortable telling the Center for Student Conduct that an issue has occurred in their house and then finding a way to address it. That's where the focus should be. So please don't have that be a concern. Right now, our office has 23 ongoing cases over our 4 divisions. Those are being handled, and that's kind of going on. Academic division working on a CACSA proposal. Fine Aid has sent out our SHIP survey, and I sent it all out to you. If you can help distribute it, that would be lovely. Please do. We'll be following that up with our survey on the Career Center. Conduct, we've been redrafting all the materials that are sent out to charge students to try to make the language a little better, and also working on redrafting our help letter to make it a little more clear. So that's happening. Also, if you all have any CACSA proposals you want to send, now is the time to be touching base with myself or other members of the CACSA committee. So please reach out to us if you're sending out a CACSA proposal. This Saturday, we're going to be going through all of them and trying to develop what we think our thoughts are on them and starting to kind of come up with the ones we want to put forward. So now's the time. Monday is the deadline, but that should not be the time you're waiting till. You should be thinking about finishing it by the end of this week. So you can send it to us so that we can start putting them together and thinking about what we want to fund. So now's the time for CACSIF. Those are my main updates, and I'm happy to field any questions.
Questions for Rishi, Senator Kavusi.
Hi Rishi, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Not to freak anyone out, but what y'all were saying about sororities and fraternities getting in trouble, when I sat on my exec board, you're not exempt from a civil suit. So if the family decides to sue, you could absolutely get in trouble.
Totally. So my comments were completely restricted to the context of the university. Okay. Now, you are not, you can be sued in court civilly. Chance of success as president of an organization would be tentative. Now, I'm not a lawyer.
The way it was presented to us at so many conferences was that it was you did not want that to happen, because in the event that happens, you will get screwed over. I don't know, but that's just what I'm just delivering what I know from.
Yeah, definitely. And I would definitely say point you towards either university, Mark Lucio is an advisor to students and attorney at the university, or folks at Bolt that are working on sexual violence issues, because not an expert, but yeah, you should be concerned, definitely. We should all be trying to make sure that we prevent this, but definitely my comments and my knowledge is really restricted to the university.
Thank you.
Totally.
Any other questions for Rishi? Okay, let's thank SAO. Next up is my report. I also didn't have to thank you, Bill. I just want to preface my report with apology because I postponed and missed a lot of meetings this week. It was because my friend got hospitalized over this weekend, and so That's just kind of like threw off my sleep schedule, my work schedule, my school schedule, my ASUC schedule for everything. And so particularly like Monday, like I missed FICOM, I'm really sorry, but like that was like a really shitty day for me. So I just want to apologize to all of you. Moving on though, for Cal Lodge specifically, we are working on developing the actual language for the management contract. So I'll follow up with all of you with the official language before we actually sign it if you want to give input as to how we might modify some of the numbers and whatnot. I'm actually inviting Ivan and Evan again in 1 or 2 weeks so that they can update you on what's going on with Cal Lodge so that you can see each of the presentations and why we chose to choose the company that we did, as well as how we were going forward with all the management contracts. And if you have any input, that'd be really great. I still haven't received any input from senators, so I'm expecting and assuming that it's okay so far, but of course, like, I haven't like sent you that other language of the contract yet, so like it's also my fault as well. So I'll definitely get on that. We actually had one a business development person for the university go through our contract as well, and they were kind of pointing out like irregularities with some of the numbers, and so we're like trying to negotiate as to how we should settle the actual percentages so that we make a profit from Cal Lodge this time. A little bit about what I talked about last week in terms of Cal performances and what we're doing with that. The only senator that has really reached out to me in terms of their student groups that use Zellerbach every single year is Senator DeSalia. So if you have any student organizations that use Zellerbach every single year, please let me know so that we can add that to the list so that when we draft up the contract with Cal Performances that we are able to fix a price rather than it going up by thousands every single year. That's the goal anyway. In terms of CSSB, I don't know if Ish is going to go over this. No, probably not. So in terms of CSSB, the application is closed for our rep. We got one application, I believe. And so I'm going to be convening the committee to start the hiring process, and Senator Pritzker and Senator Cavusi are on that committee. So if you want any additional feedback, you can talk to any one of us, including Pavan and Ish. In terms of the Wheeler Late Night program, the ASUC Student Union said it really well earlier in the fact that we're getting a lot more reservations. So thank you for helping outreach to your constituents and communities as to the program that's going on. The UVP office is going to take it one step further and offer free coffee and free Scantrons and Blue Books at the Wheeler Late Night program to encourage word of mouth spreading of the program. And so please tell folks to use the program whenever available, especially because it's midterm season and folks are starting to stay up really late and all of that. So please let them know that that service is available to them. A little bit on the food pantry, just a little bit. It's not really anything too big, but I just had like a conversation with this person from Student Affairs who's trying to put together an event that would require folks who want to attend the event to distribute more food to the food pantry as like their like admission ticket basically. And so I'm working with him so that like we're actually collecting all of that food in an effective way, so that we have like huge stockpiles of food in the food pantry for students. The rest of the stuff are also on my report that's gone out. So if you have any other questions, please let me know. But lastly, CAPSIF, like Rishi was talking about, please get it to us as soon as possible if you have a proposal so that we can review that language, give you like suggestions as to how to change it or whatnot. Currently, there are a handful of you that reached out to me, so thank you for that. But if you still need help, I'm literally spending this next week only on like CAPSIF and like Senate logistics and probably playing the new Super Smash Brothers, so that's my wellness. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. So please let me know whatever you need. Yeah, any questions? Senator Dunsky.
Hey, thanks for the report, Justin. So I actually would like you to talk a little bit more about what you're doing with Cal Performances, because Pavan and I, I'm working with the Office of the President to actually talk about something almost completely the same. And I had no idea that you were working on that, and I'd like to work with you on it.
Yeah, so this is a conversation that stemmed out of the summer actually between folks in the EVP office and what was kind of going on with perspectives. So one of the main concerns that comes up every year with the ASUC is that Zillow gets increasingly expensive without us actually having any control over what the price is for the following year, right? Especially since we have to book it a year in advance. And so when we had conversations with Jill from Cal Performances, we've been talking about collecting a list of student groups so that we would create a fixed price for X number of years. One of the things that Jill brought up was that student groups and the ASUC have never actually reached out to her to create this contract, and so my understanding from my staff is that the language is pretty much done. We're just collecting the student organization list. So if you want to talk afterwards, we could definitely figure out how to collaborate on that.
Yeah, my work with Pavan is actually about the perspective showcase, so I think that we have not been working together, and we should.
Yeah, for sure. Senator Kubusi.
Hi, Justin. I'm sorry to bother you with this, but for 4th week in a row, I've got an email from someone claiming to work in my office. This means I would have 6 or 7 interns, and I don't know what to do. They were not originally assigned to me. I don't know if they're just I just don't know what to do.
Yeah, so I actually looked up your stuff specifically because I know that was a concern that really came from you. So you actually applied for 6 interns.
No, I said 2 to 4.
I could pull up the record. You said 6.
I don't need 6.
Sorry, but you asked for 6, you're gonna get 6. You have to deal with that or else we'll reassign it. So.
But no, because I thought during SLI they said we would get 2. We can talk offline about that. Exactly, we can write down 6. I don't have 6 branches.
We could talk afterwards and I can show you the 6.
Okay. I was only told I had 3.
Okay, well, we can talk afterwards. Okay. Cool. Any other questions? Senator Franco.
Say that I also had some issues with interns and that they were accepted into multiple offices and there was confusion there. So I just want to bring that up.
Okay, yeah, let's talk afterwards as well. Cool. Any other questions? Cool, thank you everyone. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is ASUC official reports. So we have Marketing and Communications Director Joseph Wilson.
Thanks for using my full name. Hi everyone. So just a few things. The new website committee has been meeting for the last 3 weeks, and we've just been talking about all the things that are wrong with the website and what we want to change with it. We've started writing the RFP for getting a company to come in and build a new website for us. So I'll be sending out a form this week surveying you all about needs you have for the website, things that you think are wrong with it, or that could be improved, or features that you'd like to be incorporated. So I'll send that out hopefully tomorrow. I sent a Facebook invite out to everyone. There's a graphic design workshop for everyone in the ACC this Sunday, 7:30 to 9. You're all invited, and I would encourage you to invite your staffs as well, especially people involved with communications or design. Invite them to the Facebook thing. We'd like to kind of gauge how many people are coming. We're going to be having an outreach event the week of November 2nd, sort of a relaunch of the tabling program. We have a bunch of swag. I mentioned this before. We have a table, a tent coming, and tablecloths. And we really want to draw attention to the major programs and resources that the ASUC offers. So the event is kind of focus around getting students to interact with us and asking questions about the projects that are being worked on. Sign-ups for quarter zips are going to come out pretty soon, so if you all want ASUC quarter zips, those were popular last year. Senate update videos have started being filmed. Madison was our guinea pig. She said she really enjoyed being filmed, so look forward to that. And we also have a DSLR camera now, so we're going to be taking pictures of everything. Starting next week, we're going to be kind of collecting stock photos of the ASUC because we don't have any internal pictures that we can use for graphics. So we're going to get pictures of Senate and campus and all kinds of things. So if you have anything that needs taking pictures of, let me know and I can make sure we get the camera to you. Yeah. Any questions?
We have 5 minutes for questions. Any questions for MCD? Senator Gensky.
Thanks, Joe. Just a really quick question. Can I send my staff members to the Sunday thing if I'm not going?
Yeah, of course. Cool. Everyone in ASUC is invited, so we want to get as many people as possible. I'll be talking about branding, ASUC's branding, giving a general guide of how to use our seal, how to use our colors, fonts, etc. And then we'll break into smaller groups to discuss smaller tools you can use with Illustrator and Photoshop to build flyers and graphics.
Senator Nguyen?
Hi Joe, I know a couple senators were filmed today for the ASUC videos, and I just want to say they did a phenomenal job, and thank you for preparing that.
Thanks. Oh, wanted to say one more thing. I think there are still a few hiccups with the tabling program. I know a number of days, voter registration people have gotten confused the supplies that we use for our table versus the voter registration table. So that's been there's been a bit of confusion there, but I'm getting that figured out. So, yeah.
Senator Broder?
Hi Joe, I just have a question about the online form submitting communications requests thing.
Yes.
Once you submit, is there a way that we can get a confirmation?
Yes,
Something
I'm getting your requests, and I've asked my graphics person to respond, but obviously he's not responding, so I will respond from now on.
Great, thank you so much.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, let's thank Joe.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda is committee reports. First is Conrev. So I'm going to turn it over to the Conrev chair, Senator Nguyen.
Hi everyone. First off, I just like to apologize for coming late and leaving early. Conrev deliberated the nomination for Attorney General. The three candidates were Cusimano, Carnacina, and Mabanta. Our criteria were based on the ability to carry out these three pillars of the Attorney General: nonpartisanship, legal counseling, and fair and transparent elections. We then focused our deliberations between Carnacina and Mabanta. We acknowledge that both of these candidates have exceptional experience inside and outside of the ASUC, and we then focused on other factors such as working relationships with elected officials and staff. Most senators were very torn in their decision, but we unanimously voted 7-0 to nominate Carnacina. Thank you.
Any questions for Conrad? Cool. Okay, so the next on the agenda is external university affairs. So Senator DeSalia.
So our committee did not meet this week because we had no votes. Thank you.
Questions for ex-con? Cool. Finance committee, Senator Naveed.
Hello everyone. So this week, FICOM allotted a total of $3,068. $750 went from Senate contingency, $680 from space reservation, $1,138 from Greek Opportunity Fund, and around $245.25 from carry forwards. Yeah. Also, interesting factoid. We had a student group come in this week, and we were informed that they needed funding to pay for a type of security. And this security was mandatory for them to have the event that they wanted. I think it was a dance party. Yeah, it was from the Nigerian Student Association, and they were required by UCPD to pay over $500 in security, and that was a minimum. So they couldn't have the event unless they paid that total amount. And I mean, we just thought that was troubling. It's weird. We should do something about that. One of the senior officer was getting paid $74 an hour for a minimum of 4.5 hours. And they were required to have two additional officers that were being paid $27 an hour each. I don't know where this is coming from, but this is a requirement that they needed to meet to have the event.
Very interesting. Senator Dejan.
Wait, so student organizations have to pay UCPD for security for a dance that's on campus?
Yeah, that is, it wasn't like they were lying, they had the receipts, they had all the paperwork to prove it. So there's something weird going on, and we need to look into that, and I am down to figure that out if people want to know.
Yeah. I'm going to request this week that we invite Chief Bennett to speak to us. It'll be a request that's coming in this week, so yeah. So you can ask her.
It's already being processed. Senator Scott. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. As a point of information for the Senate to know, we should follow up on this. As an example, last year, working in Office of the President, when we helped put on, alongside the Multicultural Community Center, the Night of Cultural Resistance, we had a huge event on Memorial Day, and there was a lot of, you have to really work with the police and like navigate and negotiate to get fewer officers. So to hear though that we had a multi-thousand person event with one officer the entire time, or very few officers for the entire time, is very affordable. To hear that this group seems like it's being disproportionately like forced into policing, and they're the Nigerian Student Association, that seems really suspect to me. So I personally wanted to be following up, and just wanted to say that.
Just to add to that, I know I've talked to a few other people about this, but the Islamophobia conference last year, they received a death threat, a collective death threat, like to everyone, and so the people that were organizing it were requesting for security, and the university said they would not give them security. This is weird, unless they paid $200 an hour. So you see this weird imbalance of when people actually need security, and weird numbers going around, and a lot of money being taken out of our students' budgets. So yeah, just to bring that out there, and yeah. Pretty much. So that's what I've got FICOM this week.
Any other questions, Senator Sue?
Just some comments that we also discussed in FICOM. We talked about auditing student organizations randomly on their finances and what they were using the funds for. And then also startup budgets for first year groups and possibly waivers for things that are restricted right now.
Any other questions? Okay, cool. So moving on the agenda is the consent calendar. So FB5 and appointment of Moncheng Chow for Academic Affairs Vice President are both on the consent calendar. Does anyone want to pull anything from the consent calendar? No. Okay. So I would like to entertain a motion to pass the consent calendar. Are there any objections? Okay, motion passes by unanimous consent. So I don't know if Munching wants to get like 2 minutes to say things, but or we could just. I mean that's okay too. That's fine. So moving on then is new business. There is FB6, SB18, SB19, SB20, 21, 22, and nomination of Natalia for Attorney General. So I'd like to send SB6 to FICOM, SB18 to Conrev, SB19 to Conrev, SB20 to Conrev, SB21 to external, SB22 to external, and the nomination for next week for Senate as a whole. I would like to entertain a motion to send these bills respectively to those committees. Any objections? Okay, motion passes by unanimous consent. That was a really great and short meeting, y'all. So we're going to go into announcements. Did we start over here or here last time? Okay, so we're going to go with Senator Zong.
Any announcements? No new announcements.
No new announcements. Just quickly, we are continuing, the PSC is continuing to welcome our wonderful co-op coordinator, Leah Robinson. They're really awesome. If you see them around, make sure to say hello. Also, I have begun, I put forth a proposal to the BSC Board of Representatives for a proposed process for how to allocate the Cooperative Opportunity Fund. If you're interested in knowing more about that proposal, talk to me. The reason being is mostly, unlike the Greek Opportunity Fund, we're one organization, and so we receive the funds like as a co-op, and so we want to make sure that we are allocating that on like a really equitable basis. So the proposal I put forth is per capita, basically, per person. So anyway, and then tentatively, I'm going to be having on October 21st a info session for the co-op community around ASUC funding in general, but wait for more info on that. And the deadline to apply for the Student Labor Organizing Conference, I think I sent an email out to you all, is this Friday. Officially, if your staff is like a couple of days late, we could probably make it happen, but make sure you sign up as soon as you can. And the Student Labor Organizing Conference is October 24th and 25th at Berkeley. Thank you.
So this Saturday, we will be putting on, the unsafe community will be putting on their leadership summit. Our office has been really hard at work to develop really cool workshops on allyship and politicizing their struggles and a lot of awesome things. And we're inviting professors to talk, and there's a lot of alumni coming, and it's gonna be a great event. So it's open to everyone, actually. So if you want to come and check it out, there's a lot to learn from our community as well, and we'd love to learn from other communities. So please come out. It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Unit 1, also this room. Yeah.
Hi everyone. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to ESS, that's Engineering Student Services, for having a research forum for transfer students today. So helping them to find research opportunities on campus, especially because they're comparatively, I guess, 2 years behind figuring out who the professors are that they really want to work with. So that was really awesome. In other news, next Tuesday, John De Niro, who's the lecturer of CS61A, amazing professor who I have right now, is going to be talking with Drew Houston, who's the CEO and co-founder of Dropbox, about how college students get involved in starting their own companies and the process that he went through to do that. So if any of you are interested in entrepreneurial ventures, or if any of your constituents are, please direct them to that event. Also, completely unrelated, I'm selling 2 functional TVs and a slightly ripped armchair that, for very, very cheap, so please reach out to me at the end of this meeting.
Before we move on, I'd like to remind senators to put away their laptops. Again, this is only effective if you actually pay attention to the announcements. So let's keep that in mind.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for making this meeting as efficient as possible. I just wanted to give a shout out to I just wanted to let y'all know about the Berkeley Outreach Program for the Berkeley Dance community. We're finally getting it started and reaching out to 2 middle schools so far. We've had a lot of parents, faculty, and students alike really vouching for our program. So if you have any experience with community service in any sort of way or outreach, please let me know. I definitely want to jumpstart this program and make it more effective and reach a lot more students who can potentially benefit from this program. And also, I just want to give a shout out to all the senators here today. I received a lot of positive support after the meeting. After feeling very overwhelmed and discouraged, I was reaffirmed by just the positivity and the willingness to really respect each other's opinions over this past week. So really shout outs to everyone here today, and I look forward to that same sort of commitment in the future.
Hi friends. Mental health town hall, Madison will go to that, but it's awesome, and I learned a lot. Thank you guys for sharing that. Madison and my office will be working on the referendum draft, and obviously we're trying to be as transparent as possible, so we'll be sending that around, so give us your feedback. Please, if you don't like something, tell us, because it's like a group effort, and we won't know unless people tell us directly. Sunday night, my staff and I have finally finished the pre-med survey that we're sending out to the entire, hopefully, pre-med community. Please share it with your constituencies that I might not have access to, or might not think about reaching out to. And then finally, Warm and Fuzzies. Sorry, this is the name. And I know everyone's working super hard, but Warm and Fuzzies to Vinay, because I ran into him on Friday, and he had been up super late with his staff doing tax proposals.
Hi all, so tomorrow I will be meeting with Vice Chancellor Fleming, or Vice Chancellor of Research Fleming, and so I will be going over some of the issues going on with the conservatory, as well as some of the research opportunities that are going on on campus for undergraduate and graduate students. So if you have any comments or things that you'd like me to bring up, that meeting will be from 1 to 2 tomorrow, so if you could just give me a heads up tonight or tomorrow morning, that'd be cool. Sorry for the really late notice. I just found out about 2 hours ago about the meeting. And then, so my second announcement is that this Saturday morning, I will be doing a speaker series with Executive Associate Dean Doyle, and we'll be going over a presentation on women and innovation and the impact we're making on UC Berkeley campus. So if you can stop by, it's going to be in Bannock Auditorium from 8:30 a.m. to noon.
Hi. So if you didn't notice me spamming the group me already, there is an IRC roundtable on Sunday from 4 to 6. I know that Senator Cabrisi, Senator Janicki, Senator Gordon, and Senator Broder have already expressed interest. But if you're interested, please let me know so I can forward you all of Shane's emails, including like the ones where he asks us to fill out a form for the questions and concerns that we want to bring up beforehand. So let me know. Thank you.
Hi everyone, so we're finalizing the date for the Cal Dining Town Hall. It will be in the first 2 weeks of November, and I'll relay that information to all of y'all. Secondly, this Friday's Homecoming Shabbat, I'll extend an invitation to all the senators. It starts at 7, and I'll be on the lookout for an email the next day, executives as well. And finally, shout out to Cal football for that game. It was insane, and I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing a lot of you this Saturday when we go 5-1 and have a better record than Stanford.
Just one announcement. The Raza community, Latina community, multicultural community is going to be having a town hall tomorrow from 7 to 9 p.m. at 106 Worcester to address an incident where one of our Chicano, Latino organizations reached out to a private firm and did so in a pretty, I would say, respectful way and received some very xenophobic and anti-immigrant and racist language. I posted it on Facebook, the little bit of exchange. The private firm has yet to take ownership of it. They blamed it to being hacked, and as such is the bill SB 21. I recommend you all look at the language. Let me know if there's anything that you all have questions about. I'd be more than happy to talk about it during the week. But if you all would like to be a part of that space and just engage in the conversation, feel free to approach me afterwards, and I'd be more than happy to talk about it. Yeah. So as of now, it's set to be in 106 Worcester, but I don't think that's going to be a big enough room. So for now, it's that time. But there's going to be a basic event that will probably launch tonight, and I'll invite all of you on it.
Dree mentioned a lot of the updates, so I hope you were listening to her. Academic Assembly, like Devin said, is plugging along, and just to jog everyone's memory, those are 10 representatives from the various colleges and divisions of our university to better represent the academic concerns of students. So if you at all care about that and want to help staff or put your input into the orientation that the AAVP office is creating, you should really, really do that. The second thing is the mental health town hall that I was happy to see a lot of faces at. Thank you for coming. It was really great. We got a lot of really, really good info that I don't think we would have had without the town hall. A lot about first responders to mental health concerns, including UCPD, and being more sensitive to students' concerns. A lot of concerns about language that the Tang Center is using and UCPD is using, wait times at Tang, how professors and GSIs interact with students in regards to mental health and their sensitivity, and then late night mental health options are a huge concern. Students don't feel like they have any late night options, so hopefully hours of operation will in some part address that, but we really need to be thinking innovatively about how we're going to be addressing that in the future. So.
So I have a very artsy round of announcements. Yesterday I attended the UC Berkeley Publications and Media Groups Roundtable. It's actually really cool. I learned a lot about some organizations that I knew nothing about, and also that Berkeley has kind of an unrivaled like participation by students in the creation of media and publications. We actually have like almost like twice as many as most other schools, like which is pretty awesome. Like that's I think that's important and important for the climate here. So I'm looking to address their concerns. Just like a little plug, Bear Stage is putting on a version of 12 Angry Men. Student theater here often has like a lot of trouble getting resources. Like they literally put on this show in the basement of Cesar Chavez. There's like maybe 30 seats, like probably more than that, but like it seems very small. But they do amazing work, and I do want to put a plug for like students making art. In that vein, the Arts Research Center and the Public Service Center are co-sponsoring a campus arts roundtable to talk about the programs that the Public Service Center has to connect artists on the campus with public service initiatives in our neighboring communities. It sounds really cool. It's on Halloween, and it's from 9 to 11 a.m. So talk to me about it. It's far away, but I want to get it on you later. Thanks.
So I just wanted to let everyone know, if anyone has, I sent out an email, but I wrote up a bill on amending student conduct to provide an additional right for student groups. So if anyone has any questions on this, please reach out to me. I know many of you already have. And also Rishi, I've already spoken very much with Rishi, but if you have questions, he's dealt extensively with student conduct, so he would know a lot about this as well. Thanks.
Blue Shots season is coming up, so be well and go Bears.
I have just one announcement. On Friday, October 10th at 3:30 at the Bolt Law School, room 105, there's going to be an event and a call to action called Stop Mass Incarceration, Police Terror, Representation, and Discrimination of a Generation. So if you are able to come, it is this Friday at 3:30. If you don't know much about mass incarceration, nor do you know really who it affects or how it affects people on a day-to-day basis, this is an event to go to. So please attend. It's in room 105 at Berkeley Law School.
So tomorrow, Maganda Magazine, the longest running Filipino-American literary arts magazine in the country, will be having their theme unveiling tomorrow, as well as an open mic from 7 to 9 p.m. at 242 Dwinell. And then the Pre-Med Filipino organization, Filipino American Association of Health Careers, is having their medical mission benefit concert kickoff tomorrow at 7 p.m. in 110 Barrows. And just a little brief, the MMBC is a benefit concert that funds a organization up here in NorCal to send students to the Philippines for a medical mission for a week. And so it'd be great if you can all support that and come out, and there'll be a lot of like entertainment and food. 7 p.m. Yeah.
Okay, so I know a lot of you all know and got the emails from the CPD this weekend about multiple sexual assaults that happened this past weekend, and as Megan said before, I want you to realize that this is like not new, thank you, not new. It happens every weekend. It's really great that survivors are feeling comfortable enough to report, but this is like, there were so many more than just those three. So keep that in mind. If you have questions about it, please reach out to me or Megan or anyone else in the task force. I think I emailed all of you who expressed interest about sending an email to UCPD about their problematic crime tips for preventing sexual assault. Chief Bennett responded and wants to wordsmith with us. So we will be doing that this week. If you have interest in reforming their tips, please let me know, because we will be meeting with her to do that. Also, it's Food Month, so there are events every day hosted by my office and the Berkeley Food Institute and Global Food Initiative and a couple other groups. Tomorrow is a really, really cool one. It's 1 to 4:30 in Modified from Wheeler. Also, the Harvest Moon last night was really cool, and there was an event at the Gilcraft to watch it, which was really cool. And if you want to go tonight at the Go Track, right after this, they're going to go see the moon and wind. There's like a bonfire thing. Also, this past weekend at the Go Track, there was a permaculture build, and we made this huge, really amazing medicinal garden and all these other things, and it's really, really great. And also at the Guild Track on October 25th, we're having our first harvest day. We're going to bring a bunch of students and be able to transport the fresh veggies straight to the food pantry so students can access the local food grown at the Guild Track, which is really, really great. So if you're interested in coming out to that, that's the first one. There's going to be another one in November. Also, I met with the director of the EPA for California last Friday, and he's going to write legislation with us to try and push for ESG framework for the state, which is like the biggest deal ever. Remember, Sadia was just talking about ESG framework for the UC. We want to make that for the state. So we're going to hopefully be planning a climate symposium for spring semester where we're going to have all of these people from their school and hopefully introduce that legislation. Also, we submitted CACSIP to get more campus gardens because they're trying to develop a Guild Track, in case you haven't heard. We are meeting with the Chancellor next week, I believe, to talk about the Guild Track, which is super, super exciting. Also, this Saturday is the Global Frack Down to ban fracking. It's in Lake Merritt. You should go, because fracking is bad. If you want to know why, please talk to me. J Street is hosting Conflict 101, and that's Monday. If you want to hear 3 different perspectives on the conflict, please come out to that. It's in 71 Evans at 7 p.m. And then, one other thing. I think I emailed you all about this as well, but October 31st, we're having a meeting with multiple campus administrators. It's a closed-door, solely survivors of sexual assault event. Where we will be talking with administrators. If you have people you want to reach out to, please let me know. And we are arranging that right now. There's an RSVP list, blah, blah, blah. Talk to me about it. Finally, I'm running a marathon in a week and a half and like not training in the basement. So if you want to run, please, please, please let me know because I'm going to like pass out halfway. So please train with me.
Okay, so before we adjourn, I actually want to bring up something like kind of serious. So it's come to my attention that like y'all are leaving your seats before the meeting is actually adjourned, which is like not a respectable way for the process to go. Specifically for like Senator Ramesh and Senator Zong, who gets called last, like they barely get like the present in before like everyone has already left the table, and that's like not okay and like completely disrespectful. So please stay in your seats until after the meeting is adjourned. But to go off of that as well, only 7 of you were here at 7:20 when the meeting was actually supposed to start in your seats, and that's completely unacceptable as well. So please make sure you're sitting at the table at 7:20 p.m. Because that's when the Senate meeting should be starting, and not like we do technically have a 10-minute leeway, and like I left it there today just because like I didn't want 13 of you to get an absence, but again, that's like not okay. You have the privilege of sitting in these seats, so please use it. So, final roll call. Senator Broder. Present. Senator DeSalia. Present. Senator Deschamps. Present. Senator Frankel. Present. Senator Gabrielli. Present. Senator Genski. Present. Senator Gordon. Present. Senator Heredia. Present. Senator Hirschman. Present. Senator Sue. Present. Senator Jawaharlal. Present. Senator Kabusi. Present. Senator Lee. Present. Senator Namgaonkar. Present. Senator Naveed. Present. Senator Nguyen. Senator Pritzkat. Present. Senator Parade. Present. Senator Ramesh. Present. Senator Zong. Present. Senator Nguyen. Okay. Meeting is adjourned at 9:35 p.m.